So, Mr. and Mrs. Klein, as you can see here, the shortfall would have been $2.057 million if you've never seen me, but now it's 1.701, but you have 25 years to make it up. Can you afford a Ferrari? Absolutely you can. Therefore, we have to start making out ways to work. Now, there's two ways we can do that. We can talk about investments and we can talk about property. Now, I am not saying you should go for property. I'm not saying you should go for investments. I have to find out. I am going to give you an example with property because generally as Australians, we tend to understand property a little bit better. So, in this example, let's say we buy a property. Now, I'm going to give you an exact example of the property I own in Toowoomba. Now, this is actually an exact property that I own in Toowoomba, right? So, it's a $420,000 value associated with it. The purchase cost was $12,000. That included stamp duty and a portion of LMI. This is in Queensland, Toowoomba, so quite cheap. Now, I've actually put 80% of my wife's name because of my income difference. So, in this scenario, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put 50-50 because you guys are in a similar income stream. The capital growth expected per annum, I'm not expecting miracles. I just put it at 3% because, hell, it's quite fair enough. Net rent per annum. After agents' fees, which is 12% because I have nothing to do with this place, it's a due occupancy on 2,000 square meter block of land. So there's two rental income streams, $22,000. Indexed rent at 3% per annum. Depreciation is at $5,000 for the building consistently, but for the fittings depreciation, let's put $4,500 a year, and it depreciates less 20% each year. So 1 year depreciates at $4,500, the next year is $4,500 minus 20%. The next year is that balance minus 20% each year. Does that make sense, Mr. and Mrs. Client? Yes. My interest rate on that, Mr. and Mrs. Client, is 3.9 as an investment property. Now, assuming this works, our new financial service capital 25 years has increased to 3.273. Let's look at this in results. So I press the results button, I go to personal debt graph. Now, my current situation shows that my debt is gone from 31 years to 9.5 years, a difference of 21.6 years, a saving of $293,000. That was a good start, we're already aware of it. And we can see there the graph shows the current situation versus the new situation. Let's go into more detail. Let's go total debt. Let's get an understanding of now paying off our own balance, also paying off our investment balance. In our own balance, we get paid off in 9 years' time. Now, on our investment balance, we can pay off not only our own home, but our investment property in the 15-year mark. Does that make sense, Mr. Client? 15 years, you're paying off both. So if we go back now to our full net worth, at the 25-year mark, if you never met me, you were looking at 2.038. Now, having met me, you're looking at 3.273. We're still short of the 4.096, but one move has got us our property and the further investment property fully paid off. When we're looking at the actual asset class, the property input, you can see our cash flow at that point, just from the property, that's $17,891 per year. Let's assume now our equity has gone up to the point on our own occupied, on our investment property, that in the 4th year we choose to buy another one. So assuming we've factored in inflation now, the house is worth more, everything is worth more, but we're paying at the higher cost. As we go back to our graph, now we've got two investment properties and our own occupied. Again, this is not what I'm saying you should do, just an example, Mr. and Mrs. Client, of how investment plays a part. We go to our personal debt situation, we now gone from 31 years to 8.83 years. We've gone below the 9-year mark, but only just. Difference of 22 years, saving of 300 grand. Total debt means we have our investment properties both paid off now in the 18-year mark. 18 years, you have your own occupied, 2 investment properties, where before your only occupied wasn't even paid off in 31 years. These are plain stats, Mr. and Mrs. Client, based on the property I own and your income. What we see here is a difference of 31.17 years to 8.83 years. What we see here is a difference of current capital 2.03 to 4.153. Mr. and Mrs. Client, what were we targeting? 4.06. So let's look at our results. Let's look at them in a bit more details. Total net worth. Total net worth shows that if nothing had happened, you never saw me, it was 2.038 million. We were short substantial amounts of money. But having met me now, the 25-year mark, We're 4.153. Is retirement now possible? Absolutely. So, Mr. and Mrs. Client, am I saying this is what you need to do? I don't know yet. This is the honest truth. I have no idea. But what I have stipulated, thank you. Thank you. What I have stipulated right now is if you had never met me, nothing had ever happened, you were 31 years away from paying off your mortgage. Considering you're going to retire at 25, 5 years of that mortgage, it basically means you're living to pay off that mortgage. But that's just the mortgage. How do you then proceed and retire? So we have two options. One, do nothing. Albert Einstein's definition of insanity, doing the same thing, expecting a different result. Option two, let's give it a crack. Let's see what we can do. Position ourselves to pay this off and either investment properties or investment assets to the point that we can create our income stream and pay down our debt. Does that make sense, Mr. and Mrs. Client? Is that something you want to look at for you? Powerful tool, right? When are you using this, guys? You're using it when the client wants to talk about property. You're using it when the client wants to talk about paying off their debt as soon as possible. We're discussing it in reference to budget if they have a mortgage, right? You're doing this as part of the app. Now, when this is done, you're saving that, and then what are you doing? Going back to the freaking app. Does that make sense, Mr. and Mrs. Client?